will begin with the first question. We'll start by having Kevin answer it, and then we'll just move down the list. The first question. The Chamber of Commerce and Civic Affairs has worked diligently over the past 2 years to create a community development plan for Musquodoboit Harbor and area. The Chamber will use this document as a guide for the next series of projects, with the end goal of revitalizing our core community for future generations. Implementation and completion of the community development plan priorities will require commitments from all levels of government. The Eastern Shore riding is diverse and large. And if elected, the Eastern Shore riding is diverse and large. If elected, please provide concrete details on how you will be fully engaged in the advocacy, collaboration, and funding of our identified priorities to support our community's economic development. And if you could, please be specific. We begin with Kevin.
Thanks very much, John, for the question. First of all, congratulations to the Musquodoboit Harbor Chamber of Commerce for undertaking such a ginormous project, actually. The planning for the community for the next couple of decades is a very admirable task. They've undertaken it with gusto, and they've certainly made themselves quite a name on the Eastern Shore for providing that kind of leadership. So the master plan, I've had a chance to go through it. It's got some great things in there, and it's certainly the overlying message that I take from that is that it will require the cooperation of all 3 levels of government, including the community. There's any number of things in there that are led by different levels of government. The municipality certainly has a large role to play in a lot of the things that are in there, everything from the drive to get central water and potentially sewer, our municipal responsibilities, the question of sidewalks, our municipal responsibilities. Those are kind of the 2 big things that stand out to me, but for sure they will require the endorsement and the participation of all 3 levels of government, as well as the taxpayer in the catchment area. So those are some very key things. There are certainly some other low-hanging fruit there that I see in terms of Main Street type projects, beautification, things like flower pots, street lights, planning for the area, the core pieces of infrastructure that service not only this community but the entire Eastern Shore are conversations that I feel have to be extended to the entire catchment area that they serve, from going right from Ship Harbor all the way over to the Lake Echo area. So those are interesting conversations that I believe will be championed by the Chamber as we go forward. And I look forward to playing a role in that, in building on the existing relationships that I have and that we have as a community with our municipal partners and our federal partners.
Thank you, Kevin. Next, Andy, followed by Patricia, Devin, and Randy.
Thanks, John. To start, a community needs to be a place where people actually live. It's not just a place where they can afford to live. It has to be a place where they live, where they contribute, where they go to school, where they work. Decisions need to be, I think, brought down to the most local level possible. So in supporting, I haven't actually read the plan, but in supporting the plan, or whatever is available, I'd approach it the same way I approach pretty much everything, which is working with the stakeholders, finding out what's important, what needs to be, what has to be available for funding. I'm sorry, but I can't actually get more specific than that. I'm going to pass.
Patricia?
First, I'd like to say that when I first learned about this plan, I was very excited because it really is a grassroots plan where many people came together and visioned what they wanted to see their community look like, took strategic steps in making sure everyone was included, and that this is, broad thinking. What would we love to have in the village? So hats off to the Musquodoboit Chamber of Commerce and Civic Affairs for doing that work. If I was your MLA, I would certainly be supporting this initiative as best that I can. And I know that we need to network in order to secure funding to go through to the next phase and work with all levels of government to ensure that we're able to come together to make this plan realized. We need to have investment from the province. And I know Musquodoboit has been identified as a growth area, so we need to ensure that we're putting the money where they say they're going to put the money. And sidewalks has been a priority that came out of that development plan. And I've spoken to a lot of community members who would like a village where it's walkable, where you can go up for a coffee and you can go to the library with your family. This is a historic village that needs to be invested in. As your MLA, I would be looking to access the billions of dollars that are available for federal infrastructure dollars. I'm not sure that has taken place. I know the HRM did supply some funding to help this plan come to fruition, but I don't think that the province had given any money to make sure that this went through. So I would say I would have a strong commitment to this because I know it's a grassroots initiative, and I think that the people of Musquodoboit Harbour deserve to have what they've worked so hard to establish in this community. It's a historic village, and we need to invest in rural Nova Scotia. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin?
Thank you very much for the question. I had the opportunity when living in Sheet Harbour to actually go through a very similar process to the one that was taken and gone through in this community. And from that point, I was able to get the information on what has been taking place here, and it mirrors a very similar resemblance. Which is nice to see because in Sheet Harbour they have been successful in establishing the sidewalk use for the entire core of the village, as well as appropriate pedestrian lighting. So the fact that we are already mirroring a program that has been successful, I think, is a great first step. The key is that it does need to be more than just one group involved here. The Chamber alone will not be able to do this by themselves. They are the first step in order to get this done. Working together with all levels of government and having a strong vision, which is very present in that report, is going to make the difference. One of the biggest things that we are focused on in terms of rural development and economic development is to reopen the previously closed Department of Economic and Rural Development. This will give us a very specific and focused way of trying to improve rural life, not just here, but across the province. So I think that is one of the biggest things that I can say that we are confidently going to invest in. I do encourage everyone to check that portion of our platform out because it is a significant point in our investment process. So I do encourage you to check that out. Thank you.
Thank you, Devin. And finally, Randy.
Well, I must say this is a difficult question, and I'll do my best to answer it. I have to wonder what makes a community. if someone could tell me that, is a community measured in so many kilometers wide and so many kilometers long? Is a community something that has to have a school and a church and a bank and a store? What does make a community? Is Owl's Head a community which has none of those things other than homes and neighbors? So I believe that a community is a group of like-minded people working together for a common good. And should I become MLA, I would take the consultative approach with the individual groups, and we have many, many volunteer groups around the Musquodoboit Harbor area, and let them decide and define. I believe in a laissez-faire attitude, meaning hands-off government. The government can provide the money, and the people provide the plans and the service. Musquodoboit Harbor is supported by many small communities. Austria Lake, Ship Harbor, you can go on in Chesapeake forever and ever. Maybe not Chesapeake so much, it's probably associated with Porter's Lake. But I believe in having sidewalks for people. We're getting to be an older population. I believe in street lights, which many people don't. When I ran for councilor one time, had street lights everywhere from Meekum-Seacom to the Cole Harbor line. Some people liked them, some people didn't. I have no problem advocating and shooting my mouth off when it comes to demanding or not asking. I don't ask well.